Once you have completed interviews and reference checks and selected a candidate, you are ready to make an offer of employment. Make sure that you discuss things like work schedule, starting date, salary, and benefits. Also, inform the applicant that the offer is contingent upon passing a drug screen, driver's license check depending on the job, fingerprinting depending on the job, and a background check if the applicant is over 18 years old. It is a good idea to finalize the details of an offer in writing. You can find an example of an offer letter in Appendix 10 of the Supervisor Guidebook. After the candidate accepts the offer, you will need to scan and return all recruitment and selection documentation to HR. If you have not already done so, make sure to notify the applicants who were not selected that the selection process has ended. To learn how to do this, see the Interviewing Applicants section of the Supervisor Guidebook. After submitting the documentation, you will need to schedule the applicant to come to HR. You can find the link to the schedule in the Employee Hiring Process section of the Supervisor Guidebook. It is important to note that the employees who require fingerprinting need to be scheduled for a Wednesday. Be sure to email HR when you schedule a new employee. You can find a full tutorial of the new hire process, including I-9 form information, in Target Solutions under Online New Hire Scheduling Overview. Once HR receives an email that you have scheduled a new employee, they will prepare the new employee's paperwork. HR will email a link to the employee with the majority of their new hire paperwork, which will be completed online before their scheduled appointment. New hires who are 18 years or older must complete a background check at the Sandy City Police Department, which they will need ID for. If a background check comes back positive, Human Resources will notify the applicant that the department head will need to review the background check to determine if the applicant can still be hired. Some departments may conduct their own more extensive background checks if it is allowed or required by law. Certain new hires also needed to be fingerprinted by the police department at the time of their background check. Those who need to be fingerprinted are employees from the police department, justice court, IT, and custodians in the facilities division. All new hires are required to complete a drug test before they can begin working. HR will typically send benefited employees to the city's Scope Clinic and send non-benefited employees to Intermountain WorkMed. Employees who go to WorkMed do not need an appointment, but they will only have 24 hours from the time they receive an authorization form to complete the drug test, or the test will be considered positive and they will not be hired. WorkMed requires employees to bring photo ID and the city's authorization form in order for the employee to be tested. Some positions, such as police officer, firefighter, and crossing guard, require a pre-employment physical. These physicals may be conducted at WorkMed, but, unlike the drug test, an appointment must be made prior. Supervisors will only be notified about the results of the physical if there is a problem. Supervisors should also be aware that employees with CDLs are required to have periodical physicals to renew their licenses. After HR receives the results of a new hire's drug test and the employee is approved to begin working, they will send the employee an email with their mandatory onboarding paperwork. The employee will not receive their first paycheck until the payday after the employee has completed their onboarding paperwork. Benefited employees will also be scheduled for an in-person benefits orientation. These orientations occur every other Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. A personnel action forms will be completed by the supervisor and approved by Human Resources before the employee attends orientation. In addition to the benefits orientation, supervisors should conduct an orientation with a new employee to help them become familiar with the department, workspace, and duties of the job. In Appendix 12 of the Supervisor Guidebook, you can find a sample of the onboarding form that all supervisors must complete prior to a benefited employee's start date, as well as a checklist to help supervisors prepare for new employees. Even if an employee has worked for Sandy City in the past, they must still be scheduled to complete all of the steps in the hiring process before they can begin working. Rehires are also required to complete their onboarding each time they are rehired. Appendix 13 of the Supervisor Guidebook provides a detailed guide on the hiring process for part-time, non-benefited employees.